audio source though. Oh no. Okay. That's fine. We'll just continue from there. And I'll put up the resources later. Okay. So where are we? So now we have a moving snail. But even though he is a snail, he is moving a bit slow. So what I want to do is I would like to add a serialize field here. Don't mind my spelling. Serialize field. We are going to do another float here. In case no one in case anyone's wondering what this is, float is just another way of representing a number. In programming, there's lots of different types of numbers, and float is one of the more common ones to use in Unity because it is a nice small one that accepts real numbers and decimals. So here we have our speed value, which is, I just default it to 1. You don't have to put this section in, but it's always good practice too. And the serialize field, what it's going to do is when we go back to Unity, you notice that when you select the player, you have this little speed value here now, and we can edit this, and we can say maybe 100 or something more reasonable, like 5. But this, yeah, so this is equivalent to doing like this public float speed. But in general, it's probably better to use serialize field because you don't really want to be setting values public to where you can avoid it. It's mostly because it allows any other class to, or any other object to access it, and it's generally bad practice. But you can. No, just the single line below it. Very good question. So yeah, currently it's not going to do anything because we're not using this value anywhere. But what we can do is we can multiply our direction here by our speed to give us a velocity. And if we try it again, notice our snail is significantly faster, and even in game I can pump this up and it should move even faster. You get even faster. And now it's just ridiculous. But yeah. And then you notice when I stop playing, it actually defaults to the value that we had before. So anything you do in play mode is disregarded by Unity. Because I can also just manually move, say, the position of it. And then it resets. Yep. Okay. So from here, we're going to add a little bit of an objective to the game. Now inside your sprites folder, there is a little leaf. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this little collectible for the snail. So first things first, either create empty or another 2D object, and make sure it has a sprite renderer on it. And if it doesn't, just add in a sprite renderer and select your leaf. You can change it to whatever color you want. I'm gonna make it a very deep green because it's a freshly fallen leaf, and I'll just name that leaf. And now we want to do the same thing we did before with R physics, adding a box collider and a rigid body, making sure the rigid body's gravity scale is 0. Okay. One thing you also should do is here under the box collider 2D, there's this is trigger option. So for both the leaf and the player, you should tick is trigger. This is mainly so that we don't get the objects pushing each other around, because if I show you without it, where did our leaf go? If I move it over here, it's a better example. We'll be able to push around the leaf, which for some reason is not rendering. Just zoom out a little bit. Okay, that's very odd. Give me a second. Huh. Well, that's strange. What difference? Oh, that might be why. Okay. I think it was being rendered behind the camera. That's why. So, now we have our player and our leaf. And you can see it causes them to, if he runs into the leaf, it pushes us around, which maybe you want for your physics game, but we are going to make them triggers. So now that doesn't happen. So we want to now make another script for the leaf, and I'm just going to call it leaf. And we want to add a new method here called on trigger enter 2D. And make sure you have on trigger enter 2D there, not just on trigger enter. And we are going to have a variable we are passing into the method collision collider.2D. Now this is on trigger enter 2D is one of Unity's many predefined methods within monobehavior. So when a certain thing happens, these methods are called, just like our start is called at the beginning of the scene, update is called once per frame, on trigger enter is called when something enters our collider, and we are a trigger. So now I want to check this collision, and I'm going to check its tag. And this little statement here is just saying getting the tag on the collision, and if that tag is equal to player, we are going to do something, and make sure you have a double equals here because we use that for comparing things. So here we're going to just type in destroy, then game object, and this will delete the leaf. So here we want to make sure that in our Unity editor we actually set the player's tag correctly. Okay. If you look, you click on your player and you look at the tag at the top, you should see a bunch of options here. You can add your own tag, but we are going to select the player tag. Now if I move this leaf further away and run into it, nothing happens because I forgot to add the script again. Alright, and make sure you add your script to your leaf script to your leaf. Here we go. So this time, yep, the leaf disappears. And we can add multiple ones in. And we can just move them around to wherever we want. Also going to maybe zoom the camera out a little bit. You can do that here just by orthographic. Oops. Make sure you're on orthographic view as well. And then 10 is a good number. Okay. So now we have a bunch of leaves to collect. Ooh. Alright. So how has everyone been going with that? Has everyone been able to kind of keep up? Yes? Okay. Because, yeah, I think we're going to split this into two so it's not too long, because there are a couple more interesting things I want to go through. But this should be the basics to get you going at the beginning, to get you, moving stuff around, a bit of logic here and there, and next time we'll be going through some of the things to make it, I guess, a bit more polished. So things like sound effects and all of that cool jazz, and we'll add a little score thing. But for now I just want to make sure everyone here is kind of up to speed with that. Yeah, Andrew, did you get through all of it so far, or what are you up to? Okay. Where it is? Here. So you don't need to worry about this. In fact, you can even delete this if you want. Because we only really need this section. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you have to like reopen the Unity project and whatnot. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is that good for the leaf script? Andrew, do you need to see the player movement script as well? Zoom in a tad more. Oh god, this is huge. You can if you want. We're going to be going through that next time, but Probably make another folder for prefabs. Keep it separate from the package that we imported. So we'll just make a little prefabs one. You can, to make a prefab, it's pretty easy to just drag it in like that. Hang on, sorry, I'll bring up the Leaf script again. Actually, can I do this? Is everyone able to see this? Is that too small? Okay, good. So, yeah, how's everyone going? Pretty good? Yeah. Okay, just let people copy that. Chip, how are you doing? So you sneak in halfway through. Did you manage to get through any of this? Or are you just kind of watching for now? So that's in the workshop resources channel. So if you just go there, it should be. Just gonna clean this up a little bit. Yep, and do you mean like forever or just for a little bit? That's mainly to do with the get axis we're using, because the usual get axis actually has a bit of smoothing in it. So you notice that, and because we're normalizing it, it makes it bigger than one. What we could do to fix this is simply just to we can just go if direction dot magnitude is greater than 1, then we just go direction equals direction dot normalized, and then we can just do this. This will kind of prevent that from happening. But also, if you want to get just like the pure up and down values, you can do get axis raw instead. Yeah. So yeah, now you notice that the snail kind of speeds up and slows down a bit more. So the serialize field, this is a little C# thing. Well, these little square brackets are a C# special thing, which is an attribute. And specifically, the serialize field attribute shows us a value in our inspector view, which allows us to modify it outside of the game. outside of the code. So in Player, for example, we used that to get the speed, so we can adjust the speed to be higher or lower, and we can play around with that. So it's a very useful thing when you're kind of prototyping things and trying to figure out what values should be what. Okay, I'll bring the script up again. Perspective and orthographic. So it's not as pronounced here because it's in 2D, but if I say angle the camera upwards a little bit, you notice the snail's kind of getting a bit flattened. But if I change that to perspective view, and I move back a bit, where are we? It's a lot more in perspective. It might be easier to demonstrate with a skybox. Nope. Okay. Hang on. It's a lot easier to demonstrate with actual 3D assets. Because here, if I create a 3D object, and I say place it here, rotate it a bit. We won't really go into 3D at the moment, just for the sake of simplicity. But just demonstrating the point here, that difference between the two. So this is orthographic, and then this is perspective. Yes, there we go. Ben is very right, and that's a very good example. Yeah. So for 2D things, we want to keep it orthographic, because otherwise you're going to have things at the side slightly smaller than, like if I really bump up the field of view, you can see it, like you can see it kind of stretching at the sides too. But in orthographic, I zoom in and out, everything is just kind of the same. It's only if I change the size that it really zooms in and out, and the edges are all consistent. Yep. Okay. So does anyone need the script still? And you guys can try it with this little if statement here, if you're concerned about that kind of movement with the snail. Yep, that can also, that'll make it feel a lot more snappy, because it'll either be like one or like on or off, 1 or 0, whereas like get axis itself like makes it so it doesn't jump so suddenly. But also, yeah, depends what you're going for. Yeah. Right. Okay. So, guys like anime?